Hey everybody, this is Deb with Truthification Chronicles, and I'm not sure you're going to be real happy with me after you hear this one. Yeah, I'm not real happy myself after reading it, but there are some things I want to point out to you about it. Anyway, new OIG report about DOJ. Now remember, the OIG is the Office of Inspector General report about the DOJ, the Department of Justice. And keep in mind that every department has their own Inspector General. The IG for the DOJ is Michael Horowitz. Okay? Investigative summary, findings of misconduct by an FBI Deputy Assistant Director for unauthorized contacts with the media, disclosing law enforcement and other sensitive information. I want to point out this particular Twitter feed. If you're on Twitter, this might be one you want to follow if you enjoy seeing these reports, because this is from the Oversight.gov. It's all the inspectors general, and it just puts out all the reports as they come out. And there's tons of them. I mean, there's always one coming out, it seems like, because they have semi-annual reports they put out for these departments. And they have, things that are updating what the reports have already come out with. And just lots of different ones that they put out. So that might be one that you want to keep track of. But anyway, when you click on this, it takes you to this document right here. And this is a very short thing because it's an investigative summary. Findings of misconduct by an FBI Deputy Assistant Director for the unauthorized contacts with the media, disclosing law enforcement and other sensitive information to the media, and accepting a gift from the media. Okay, now, FBI Deputy Assistant Director, if you look at this is from the FBI page, and this is Office of the Director, Deputy Director, Associate Deputy Director. And they have these people listed. However, if we go back and reread this, and we see the Department of Justice, Office of the Inspector General, initiated this investigation upon the receipt of information from the Federal Bureau of Investigation, alleging that a then FBI Assistant Director. Then. That's a key word because that means that they are likely not the people on this list. Okay? And they have like a kind of an odd way of how they determine their titles and things. So it very well could be somebody other than the people, these different offices. But I tend to think that maybe it was someone who was on this list and is no longer on this list. And that very well could be Peter Strzok. I don't know. I'm not saying it is because it never names him. So I don't know. But he would fit in that category because he's no longer employed. Of course, there are several who are no longer employed. Anyway, then FBI Assistant Director, and they say DAD for that, had numerous contacts with members of the media in violation of FBI policy. Additionally, it was alleged that the DAD may have disclosed law enforcement or other sensitive information to the media without authorization, because they have to have an authorization to be able to do that, since what they deal with is a lot of sensitive information, and it shouldn't be put out in the public while they're doing their investigations. This matter is among the OIG investigations referenced on page 430 of the OIG's review of allegations regarding various actions by the department and the Federal Bureau of Investigation in advance of the 2016 election. That's the OIG report that came out in June of 2018. And although it says that it's page 430, it's actually 459 in the document because of the there's some front matter that's like uses Roman numerals. And so the page numbers and the PDF numbers are not exactly the same. So page 459, which this document again says 430, but 459 is the page that it is in the actual PDF. Second, although FBI policy strictly limits the employees who are authorized to speak to the media, we found that this policy appeared to be widely ignored during the period we reviewed. We identified numerous FBI employees at all levels of the organization and with no official reason to be in contact with the media, who were nevertheless in frequent contact with reporters. The large number of FBI employees who were in contact with journalists during this time period impacted our ability to identify the sources of leaks. For example, during the periods we reviewed, we identified dozens of FBI employees that had contact with members of the media. And that's what their attachments, G and H, are those charts that I've shown before that show how they had all these media personalities and the FBI agents were interacting back and forth. And so this was kind of interesting to read about this because, we need to remember that this wasn't just a handful of people, really. This was dozens. Did you notice that? We identified dozens of FBI employees that were breaking the policy, that were breaking this rule. And so in addition to the significant number of communications between FBI employees and journalists, we identified social interactions between FBI employees and journalists that were, at a minimum, inconsistent with FBI policy and department ethics rules. For example, we identified instances where FBI employees received tickets to sporting events from journalists, went on golfing outings with media representatives, were treated to drinks and meals after work by reporters, and were the guests of journalists at non-public social events. We will separately report on those investigations as they are concluded, consistent with the Inspector General Act and other applicable federal statutes and OIG policy. So, they're talking about this and the harm caused by leaks, fear of potential leaks, and a culture of unauthorized media contacts is illustrated in chapters 10 and 11, where we detail the fact that these issues influenced FBI officials who were advising then-Director Comey on consequential investigative decisions in October 2016. So, kind of interesting, that it was talking about that, but just keep in mind, dozens of them were doing this. Down here, it actually tells you the media policy in effect, both at the time of these events and currently, authorizes only 4 employees at FBI headquarters to speak directly to the media without prior authorization. This list includes the director, deputy director, associate deputy director, and the assistant director of the Office of Public Affairs, the OPA. All other headquarters employees are required to coordinate with OPA prior to any contact with the media. In FBI field offices, FO, only the head of the FO and a designated public affairs officer are authorized to speak to the media. The policies require these authorized FO officials to coordinate with OPA on stories with national interest. So, see, they really do have a policy, and only 4 were allowed to be talking to them, and yet we have up here, remember what it says, we identified dozens of FBI employees. So, back to this. Yeah. The OIG investigation concluded that the DAD engaged in misconduct when the DAD, 1, disclosed to the media the existence of information that had been filed under seal in federal court in violation of 18 U.S.C. Section 401, contempt of court. So, by the way, when you find out there's some kind of sealed something or other, well, you know what? If anybody's talking about with the contents that are in that sealed document, whether it's an indictment or if it's just some kind of other proceeding that's there, they're violating law. So they're not supposed to be able to do that. Now, again, we have this situation where the press can report it, even though the person who gave them the information violated the law. So, I don't know. I kind of think maybe we need to look into how that works, because I understand that there are some things that need to be put out to the public, but I also understand that there's a reason why things are under seal a lot of times. Number 2, provided without authorization FBI law enforcement sensitive information to reporters on multiple occasions. And 3, had dozens of official contacts with the media without authorization in violation of FBI policy. Now, remember it said dozens in the other report. Well, this is dozens of contacts with the media. So this one person had dozens of contacts with the media. Now remember, if there were dozens of FBI employees that had contacts with members of the media, and maybe each one had dozens of contacts, you're talking about major leaks. I mean, this is huge. So yeah, there was some concern about it, and I'm glad that the IG addressed it. But let's go on, because this part you're not going to like probably. The OIG also found that the DAD engaged in misconduct when the DAD accepted a ticket valued at approximately $225 to attend a media-sponsored dinner as a gift from a member of the media in violation of federal regulations and FBI policy. And this is the part. Prosecution of the DAD was declined. So before you get too mad, let's remember something. First of all, this is the Office of Inspector General. He cannot prosecute anyone. So the prosecution being declined does not rest on his shoulders. So in other words, this tells us that Horowitz is doing his job. He is exposing the misconduct that went on. But all he can do is say, this is what went on. He can't prosecute anybody for what they did. And so who declined the prosecution? That's the question we need to address. Who declined it? Now, was this when Rosenstein was still in there? Did Rosenstein decline to prosecute? Or is there someone else? And this kind of, in my opinion, exposes the status of our DOJ. Evidently, our DOJ is not clean yet, and there are still many people in there who are going to stand up for the deep state. Now, there's another possibility. It could be that maybe this person, whoever it is, if it was Peter Strzok or whoever, may have made a deal, to give information about those higher-ups that were corrupt, and that kept them from being prosecuted, but I can't really say, all right? All I know is what it says there. Prosecution of the DAD was declined. Really ticks me off. I'm ready for some of these people to be behind bars. I know it's going to come eventually, but, well, we're going to see. And so the OIG has completed this investigation and is providing this report to the FBI for appropriate action. Now, it does say down here, unless otherwise noted, the OIG applies the preponderance of the evidence standard in determining whether Department of Justice personnel have committed misconduct. Now, again, the OIG can only, submit these things and say, well, we think there's enough evidence to prove this. The DOJ, on the other hand, has to actually have enough solid evidence that they can prove it in court. There's a difference when the OIG is working, they're working under probable cause. And then the DOJ, when they have to prosecute, they have to make sure that they have enough of a case that they can actually prove this beyond a reasonable doubt. And that could be the issue here. Maybe the information that they have was not as solid. And so it gave Horowitz the idea that, yeah, this person was guilty, but maybe the evidence wasn't strong enough to build an entire case on it. Although I kind of think that he would not have put this out there if he did not have solid evidence to prove it. So I don't know what the deal is. I am a little disappointed that there's not some kind of prosecution going on for this. But it also could be maybe this person is up for some more prosecution on bigger things. And that's why they decided not to go after him for this particular thing. I don't know. There's probably some reason. I hope we find out one day. But anyway, something else I wanted to point out to you is that here's a report that came out also, the end of March 31. It came out in May, but it's as of March 31st. And this is an entire report on the recommendations issued by the Office of the Inspector General that were not closed. And so, see, it's the whole Inspector General thing here. It lists all of the recommendations that Horowitz made and how they've been addressed. So have they not had a response yet, not due, or have they been resolved? Are they unresolved? Are they on hold pending with OIG? What's the deal? And down here's a chart that kind of tells you the number of recommendations not closed. Well, there's still several from under 6 months. There are several from 6 to 12 months. There are some from, 12 months to 12 to 18 months. And then, 18 to 24 months. But from 24 to 30 months ago, they've got most of those resolved. And also, but I thought it was kind of interesting that 3+ years, there's still 166 recommendations out there. Now, what are the recommendations and things? Well, it goes through all of them. By the way, if you read through this and you're not used to a lot of their abbreviations, their acronyms, this is a good page to remember, page 3 here, because all of these are used in this report And, if you don't know what they are, you have to keep looking back on this page. But yeah, all of those are departments underneath the Department of Justice. I mean, they're different offices that have to be addressed. And so the DOJ Inspector General is the one who addresses those. And so here they are. There's things like this, like they have the audit of Federal Bureau of Investigation cyber victim notification process, and, it was resolved, and here's how they resolved it. So you can go through this list. It's quite long. It's 200 and some pages. So there's nothing, I didn't see anything really eye-opening. There are some FBI things that are still pending. And from what it says up here, the pending could mean, where's it at here? The completion of the OIG's assessment of the status of the recommendations is on hold or pending due to ongoing reviews or other factors. So this could be, when they say that they're pending, that could very well be that maybe they're waiting until Rod Rosenstein's replacement comes in. Maybe they're waiting for some grand jury to be done or something. So why they're pending, it doesn't really say, but there are some, and you can look for it. That's what I did here. I went through and I looked, and, you can go through and find out which ones are, well, that's not a pending, but here, audit of the Office of Justice Program Second Chance Act, Adult Offender Reentry Demonstration Program grant awarded to Hudson County, New Jersey, and the remedy for it. This is the column that tells what should be done. The remedy is that they had $269,516 in unsupported gross wages. So there's several of those actually. See, unsupported contract expenditures and things along that order too. Then there are several of them. And again, here's the office that they're dealing with. So that's why you need page 3. But anyway, I'll leave this so you can go through it if you want to. I just did, a little search down here, Control F, and then you can type in what you want. And there were 32 matches on that, the pending. And if you want to see the unresolved, you can do the same thing with that. So, yeah, it's interesting to read. There wasn't really anything eye-opening that I found in it, but I thought maybe you'd be interested in seeing it. Actually, this was where I started when I got to this report. Mollie Hemingway here says, the DOJ IG reveals today that an FBI Deputy Assistant Director rampantly leaked to the media, including material under court seal. And I think that's, it. And then the chaser, no action taken. See, that's what's really frustrating to me. But again, what that tells me is Horowitz is doing his work. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's exposing the things that need to be exposed. The problem we have right now is somebody in the DOJ is keeping it from being prosecuted. That's what I think. Now, again, there could be a reason other than that. But that's what it appears to be to me, that there is somebody who is stopping these prosecutions, because there was another one I reported on that wasn't prosecuted either. And it just seems to me like somebody's still in there. Now, you have to remember the magnitude of this whole thing. We didn't just have a handful of people that were doing this. Remember what that report said? Dozens of FBI agents were working with the media. So this is concerning because there were so many of them. Now, again, the FBI is huge, so this really is still a drop in the bucket. But there were enough of them that it made it significantly difficult to find them all. I still think they're trying to find some of them. And, I know I got a lot of flack for saying that I thought Christopher Wray was a decent guy. I think he is. I'm not sure why he has not been forthcoming with some of the reports that he's supposed to, although it's still possible that those reports are based on grand jury information that is being used right now to seal indictments. So that's a possibility too. I just wanted to throw that out there. I am not going to stand up and defend Christopher Wray right now because I'm not sure what color hat he has. I know that the 17th letter of the alphabet says he's a white hat, but I don't know. He's done some things that I've been questioning too. So I just wanted to present that to you and give you a possible perspective on it. And then I wanted to point this out to you while we're on this whole idea of the DOJ, is this was a joint statement from the DOJ and the special counsel's office says that Barr's remark that Mueller repeatedly affirmed that he was not saying that Trump would have been charged with obstruction if he was not president does not contradict what Mueller said today. And if you listen to Mueller, I have some real questions about him. First of all, when he came out and everything, he looked like he was scared or just defeated or something. I don't know. He had an odd appearance to him. He did not come out in a commanding, walk like I would expect from somebody with his experience. I mean, this guy was the head of the FBI for a while. He's used to being in front of cameras. This is not somebody who's a shy, retiring little bookworm type person. So he didn't have that, appearance when he walked out. He had more of a timid type appearance, or maybe something he just really did not want to do. And then he read everything. I mean, he read every word. He didn't ad-lib anything. And he, had it all prepared ahead of time, which, is good, but it was like he hadn't even read that speech before. It looked like it sounded to me like it was his first reading of it, because he messed up in a lot of places and he never looked up at all. And that kind of bothered me a little bit too, that he wasn't really making eye contact at all. I mean, never, hardly ever. There were a couple times, but not very much at all. So anyway, this was a statement regarding the questions regarding AG Barr's and Special Counsel Mueller's statements on the role of the OLC, the Office of Legal Counsel, opinion in the Special Counsel investigation. The Attorney General has previously stated that the Special Counsel repeatedly affirmed that he was not saying that, but for the OLC opinion, he would have found the President obstructed justice. The Special Counsel's report in a statement today made clear that the office concluded it would not reach a determination one way or the other about whether the President committed a crime. There is no conflict between these statements. And that is from Carrie Kupek, spokeswoman for the Department of Justice, and Peter Carr, spokesman for the Special Counsel's office. So, the media right now is billing that as so contradictory. They're saying, oh, but look, he would have charged Trump if Trump weren't president. And so we need to get him. That's not what he said. And when I heard the media, it was like, did you guys listen to the same thing I heard? But, granted, Mueller said things in a way that were kind of odd. Now, I wonder if Jerry Nadler is going to be so eager to subpoena Mueller. I'm guessing he won't be. And the reason for that is because as long as they don't get the straight scoop from Mueller, as long as the Republicans don't get a chance to get in there and ask Mueller questions, they're going to be able to take the report and twist it into something it's not. So for the Democrats, they need to keep Mueller from testifying. They really shouldn't have him in there because, like I said, if he gets in there, the Republicans are going to ask some pretty exposing questions. And the Democrats, I don't think they want that to happen. You see, with Jerry Nadler, what has been going on, his pattern that's been going on, is that he says, you're going to appear before my committee. And when the person says, well, no, or I want this, or, that, or we need to negotiate the terms, then Nadler goes, no, I'm going to subpoena you. I have the power of the subpoena. And that's what he does. I mean, that's what he's done to all these Trump people. He's given them subpoenas. Even when the Trump people said, yeah, sure, I'll come and I'll talk, he still subpoenaed them. So it's just that he really has been power mad with these subpoenas. But I'll bet he doesn't do this to Mueller. I'll just bet. It appeared from what Mueller said today that he's not intending to testify before Congress. I hope he does, because I think some things will come out. Somebody's going to ask him about why all the lawyers he chose were all Democrat supporters, and he didn't have any Republican supporters in there. They're going to ask him questions like that. They're going to ask him point blank, do you believe that he obstructed justice? How do you obstruct justice when there was no crime in the first place? So I really think what Mueller did today was to set the Democrats up so they could continue this gnashing of teeth and this fury and try to drum up the impeachment thing. Now, this is going to sound really strange, but there is a part of me that wonders if Trump isn't going to allow them to impeach him. Why? Because if they try it, because the House is the one that has to put out the articles of impeachment. So if they do that, if they vote to impeach him, then I think that may open the doors for all of this evidence to be entered into court. And again, I don't think the Republicans in the Senate are going to go for it. That's not going to happen. And you have to have, I think, 2/3 vote to impeach him to go through the proceedings. So I don't believe that's going to happen in the Senate. I'm confident that isn't. But it still is something that I can't help but wonder if it's going to almost force the hand that will force some of these things to come out that may not come out in any other way. But that's just a thought. Obviously I don't think he wants to be impeached, but I don't think he fears it either because he knows he didn't do anything wrong. So, yeah. Anyway, that's what I've got for you on this one. Oh, I want to do one more thing here. Yeah. Found this article here. And this is the House, and this is from NBC News. House investigations of Trump and his administration. The full list. You gotta see this one. I mean, it goes through this full list. At least 14 Democratic-led House committees have been investigating various aspects of President Donald Trump's businesses, campaign, and his presidency since the beginning of this year. In all, those committees have launched at least 50 probes into Trump world. Yeah, you need to hear this, right? It's crazy. But look at all these things. It has a whole list here. All these things that they're going after. All of these things. Oh, yeah, and the president's threats to the rule of law. Ironically, he's the one restoring the rule of law. They're the ones that have been avoiding it because their people are not treated the same as, us commoners. We get in trouble and we get thrown in jail for things that are just a fraction of what they're doing. So all these things, obstruction of justice, yes, public corruption. Public corruption. I mean, that one is like, really? Yeah, and they're back with the emoluments clause. That's all they can seem to think about. Well, they don't have anything on him, so they just make stuff up. Conspiracy to violate federal campaign and financial reporting laws, and other criminal misuses of official positions for personal gain. The man doesn't even take a salary, okay? He takes $1 a quarter, $4 a year. And he gives the rest to charity, and you're whining about him being in there for personal gain. Oh, yeah. You want to talk personal gain? How about Bill Clinton and all the speeches that he's made personal gain off of being president? Yeah. And abuses of power. Well, basically, he's been doing things that the Democrats don't like. And they just don't want him to be able to do that. It's mean. So anyway. Oh, it just goes on. Yeah, it goes on. Reports that the president said he would pardon these people. What reports? Reports that, these fake reports. Yeah, false news. Unsubstantiated reports. And here's Cummings, Elijah Cummings, whose wife is still under investigation. Yes. And so, oh yeah, and they were ticked about acting Attorney General Matthew Whitaker's involvement with world patent marketing and White House security clearances and a citizenship question. Oh yeah, we got to stop that citizenship question. How dare we wonder how many actual citizens we have in our country. And yeah, so it just goes on. I mean, this is just crazy. Oh, the communications between Russian President Vladimir Putin and Trump. Oh, they want to know what he was saying. Well, the thing was, when Trump was alone with Putin, I'm pretty sure he was getting dirt on the Democrats. So, yeah, I don't think they want to know what... Well, that's why they want to know, because they're afraid that's what he was doing. And he was. I'm pretty sure. So anyway, it goes on. And so it's just, yeah, big long list. Oh, and here's the intelligence. Adam Schiff being in charge of the Intelligence Committee is just such an oxymoron. It really is. Take the person who has the least intelligence and put him in charge of the Intelligence Committee. Oh, crazy stuff. Anyway, and yeah, whether lawyers for Trump and his family obstructed committee's Russia probe. Yeah, use of intelligence to justify building a wall at the southern border. Oh my goodness, the president used intelligence he's got that his people gathered about caravans coming to our border to invade us? Wow. Isn't that what the president's supposed to do? He's supposed to get his intelligence people to give him intelligence so he can make decisions? And then they're complaining about that. Oh, and of course, there's another one. Communications between Putin and Trump. I mean, they are just so focused on Putin. Well, it's all they have. And energy and commerce, they're working on that. All these different things. Oh, heaven forbid we should give anybody any breaks on, the EPA and stuff. And it goes on. Foreign affairs, financial services. Oh, that's, Mad Max there. And so she's got all those. And yeah. Reported ransom demand from North Korean government related to Otto Warmbier. Who'd they get this report from? These people. Homeland Security. They got all these things. Oh, this HUD thing is really not just for Puerto Rico, but Ben Carson got grilled for that. Natural resources. Yeah, natural resources. They're after their Veterans Affairs, education and labor. I mean, they are just out to get him. Transportation and infrastructure. It goes on and on and on. Appropriations, budget, just crazy. It's a huge list. And they have these MOUs that are a memorandum of understanding, which is like an agreement between them to do this. I mean, this is planned. This is not just, I see this as something that fits under, the committee I'm chairman of, and I think we need to investigate it. No, this is all the Dems got together, and they said, hey, we're going to all have investigations about him. They planned it. They orchestrated it. How can this not be sedition? I just don't get it. But anyway, so that's what I've got for you. That is all of it this time. I just wanted to put all that out there, and give you this information, show you these. As always, the links will be down below so you can find them and you can check them out for yourself. It's just been a fun day, and, Mueller and then Nadler's little chatty thing afterwards, which was really odd too because Nadler read his totally. But then that doesn't surprise me as much about Jerry Nadler because he's not the brightest bulb in the box. So it doesn't surprise me that he had everything written down and he didn't stray from it. What did surprise me is that there was a reporter there who asked him a question and he read his response back to the man. He had a response ready. And that reporter, and I don't know who it was because they didn't show the reporters. All I heard was the voice and I don't identify their voices. So this one reporter asked him questions. That was the only guy that Jerry Nadler let ask questions. And every time the guy asked a question, he flipped through his papers and he found another response. So that was all orchestrated between him and that reporter. It's obvious when you watch it. I mean, that really was what happened. So I just couldn't believe it when I saw it because it's so obvious that these people are working with the press and the members of the press are working with them. They really are. There's just no doubt about it. We've been betrayed by our free press. They've used their, quote, freedom to betray the American people. And it's a sad state of affairs. It really is. Okay. For sure, this time I'm done. So, anyway, I want to thank you for stopping by, and I'll see y'all later.